All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of These Corona Times. It's wild in these Corona times.
It is very wild tonight.
We are
How
not.
are you doing? Are you
I'm
okay?
I'm not in my usual place, so it's kind of throwing me off. It's Super Bowl Sunday when we are recording right
Yes.
now. So we're having a small COVID friendly gathering at my brother's house with just my siblings, and I'm in another room where I don't usually record, and just trying to adapt and adjust on tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, we are one man down for the evening.
Yes. We kicked Brandon out.
We
No,
told
I'm
him
joking.
we didn't want his king moves up in here. So we said. That's
Exactly.
what we said.
Exactly. He was being reckless.
He was being wild. So for the time being, you are tuned in with your girl Tiffany, with Dr. Simone, and we do hope that Brandon will be able to join us shortly. But hey, this is what these Corona times is. It's unscripted. People
Yes.
pop in and pop out all the time. So
We adapt.
we
We adapt.
adapt. We keep going. But before we get into it, as I said, this episode 33.
Mm-mm,
Yes,
30, 34.
34.
34. Yes.
34, episode 34. We are talking about living single in these Corona times. If I had a little bit more courage, I would sing the theme song from Living Single, but I don't have that. I don't have that.
You
I
don't
don't have
have
that
it
type
in
of
you?
courage. I don't have it in me. I don't have it in me. Um, so we want to, as always, start off by saying thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for watching. If you are tuned in onto our watch party, that means it's 8 o'clock on Monday. So we appreciate you watching. You can find us here every Monday on either Facebook at our page at These Corona Times or YouTube at These Corona Times. So as always, we appreciate the likes, the shares. Please continue to watch and listen. And we have some things planned. This is
We
February. Wait,
do.
wait, wait, wait. Welcome to Love Month. I didn't say it.
Welcome to Black History Month, okay? Black History Month with a little
Welcome.
love sprinkled in.
Welcome to Love Month. Is all I'm gonna say. Welcome to Love Month. Okay. Simone is against me in my Love Month, but we're having it now.
Me and Brenda are against the Love Month, and so we have, like we said, some singles to talk with you all today because we're not single. Me,
Right.
Tiffany, and Brandon, we're married,
Right.
but we wanted to talk about, what it is to be single during this time. But next week we do have some married folks coming on to talk about, married life and
Married life
marriedness
and married
during
things.
during these current times. So that's going to be our. I think we mentioned we were having a single our singles panel, so we're doing that today, and the next week it'll be our married panel. So,
Yes. Yep.
yep,
So, ma'am, how are you?
I am out here adapting. That's how I'm doing. I'm adapting. I'm kind of reacting to some of the news that's going on. We know the impeachment trial is coming this week. Is that
Tuesday.
right?
They are advertising it on CNN like it's a movie. Like
I know.
impeachment starts Tuesday.
I don't know why. Ain't nothing about to go down. Nothing's about to go down. So not excited about that at all.
I'm excited. I mean, I feel like, do you feel like you're out of the loop? I feel like I haven't watched any cable network news for weeks,
Yeah.
probably since the inauguration. I have not. I've been
Mhm.
trying to keep up with my boys, Chris Cuomo and Don
Mhm.
Lemon, but I'm not as enthralled. I'm not
I'm
as,
happy about that though.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because it was all consuming. So I tune in when I need to. I heard that was it Bernie Sanders is now on he's on some committee, like a budget or finance committee or something.
mm-hmm,
He's been given that role, which
mm-hmm.
is really exciting. So I tuned into that because that means he's going to be, I would assume, kind of, working on student loan types of things. And, Bernie wants to help the people
I want
with
Bernie to
their
help the
money.
people. Yes.
Exactly. So I'm excited about that. So I'll be tuning in for that. But other than that, I'm just happy that it's Black History Month and that is yet another. I mean, every month is Black History Month for us because we Black every
Mm-hmm,
month all the time.
mm-hmm.
But we've been, taking time to, read to Caden and kind of, teach him in ways that we're not like in ways I wasn't taught. So that's been cool too.
Yeah. This is the shortest month of the year, but we don't want to let that hinder us from celebrating and being excellent. So as Simone said, like it I know it's this month is designated as Black History Month, but I feel like especially in the last year, like we've just been doing nothing but celebrating Black excellence all the time, and we of course try to do that on our show by trying to recognize or highlight Black business owners or just folks doing good in their
Mhm.
community or projects that are happening that you all may not know about. So, while we're out,
Mhm.
like I just love that it seems like I think somebody said it probably the other day that it seems like the rest of the world is just now finding it socially acceptable to care about Black people in Black history. So it's like
Yes.
the light switch finally turned on. I'm seeing
Mhm.
Black History Month displays in Target. And I was like, okay, Target, you got the whole
Mhm.
Black is beautiful going on up here in the front of the store. I'm proud of you.
I know it was some app or something
Hmm.
that I get emails about. I can't remember what company it was, but they were talking about, was it Audible? I don't even know. It was some company that, like a mainstream company talking about celebrating Black History Month. And I was like, okay.
Yeah,
But I think it helps that our president talks about Black folks and the
and
plight of the
diversity.
Black community.
Yeah,
Exactly. So that always helps. So I'm encouraged
me
that we're
too.
just gonna continue this.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. hmm So I know, Brandon's not here, but we're still gonna talk about our self-care, how we took care of ourselves, because we know what he would say anyway. He
He
would just say
cleaned
he
up.
cleaned,
He went to
he
bed
went to bed
early.
early.
Blah blah blah. Huh.
Exactly. So how did you practice self-care this past week?
We made a commitment this week to not buy out as much
hmm
and eat in and cook, and we did do that. I thought we were taking turns on each night, but what it turned out was that the night Joel had to cook, he had to some kind of way rope me in and get me involved in his cooking.
Yeah.
But that was nice. We sat at the table. We always try to sit at the table, so I love that we make an effort to eat at the table every night. But we didn't have the TV is on as much this week. We had music playing. We pulled a Shine and Simone because they're always listening to the jazz and stuff
Yes.
when I talk to them. So, we were listening to music. We pulled out our wine glasses and we had sparkling cider.
hmm
It was lovely.
I gotta take a page from Brandon. I actually went to bed earlier this
Hmm.
week. I've been really tired and just kind of dragging along. So I think last week I talked about how I prepared for the week a little bit better, or maybe the week before. So this week I was not as well prepared, but I did sleep. I went to bed earlier, and
She disappeared
that,
on us.
now that I'm over 35, I
She can't do it.
can't do it. I gotta
Now,
get my sleep.
now that she's over 35 and closely approaching 37, she can't do this anymore.
No, ma'am, no. I'm not even thinking about 37 until you turn 37. Then I'll be okay.
It's
6 months
coming.
from now, 6 months from now, I know it's coming.
It's right around the corner, ma'am. It's right around the corner.
I know it. I know it. So of course, every week that we do this, we acknowledge a Black business person or someone in our community that's doing wonderful things. And so one of our guests today is Margaret Cowan, and we've talked about her nonprofit before.
Right.
It's called My Sister's Keeper, and she is in Memphis, and so she has a group of single mothers who she is very instrumental in helping them get the different supplies and things that they need to take care of themselves and their families. And she's going to be on tonight along with one other guest, and she's going to talk more about her nonprofit. It's a wonderful nonprofit, and you can donate
Hmm.
money, you can donate clothes, cleaning supplies, and you should. So we're going to put an insert there to show you all how to donate. And like I said, she'll be on to talk more about that. You think Keon's our other guest, and he does have a cooking. He
He
cooks on
cooks.
Facebook Live. I don't know if he
Yeah,
wants people to watch it.
we'll give him a small second to talk about what he does.
Yes. So Brenda's not here to orient us. Who wants to orient?
I will
You want to
orient.
orient?
I
Okay.
will I will orient
Yes.
this. I need Brandon not being here just really throwing me off because he anchors us, but
He does.
I'm gonna try to go
He
forward
does.
without him. I don't know how we'll ever do it.
However, shall we
However, shall we
get
go
through this?
forward without him? I don't know how. But yes, tonight, as we said, our title is Living Single in These Corona Times. And a while back, we did a whole show about marriage and we talked about love and marriage in these corona times. We had our spouses on. We hope you watched that. And if you didn't, please go back and watch it now because you can.
hmm hmm
But we did say that we talk a lot about perceptions that we have of being single. Um, I think I'm the youngest in the married game here. Been married 2 years, working on three, and Simone's been married what 7, 8,
Eight,
8.
8 years.
And I think Brandon's somewhere around the same 7, I believe was him for this year. So
Mm-hmm.
we are far from single. We haven't been there in a while, and I think we have some misconceptions of what it is to be single, or what we think of it, what we think of people who are single now. So we want to talk about some of that tonight. We also want to talk about some of the messaging that single people receive. Like, you often hear that single people are desperate, they're lonely, they have to
Mm-hmm.
be paired up. They all have pets and they don't go outside. But single people may be out here living their best life, and we refuse to accept that. So I think tonight's episode is more about, there's another approach, and there's nothing wrong with being single. We want to just make sure we
Mm-hmm.
normalize that. If you're happy, that's fine. So we just want everybody to be happy in their own relationship goals. So if you're married, if you're single and searching, or if you're booed up or whatever, all that is well and good if you're happy with yourself. So that's what we want to do tonight, is just take some time to spotlight the singles, to talk about some of their struggles, some of the messaging, um, some of the myth busters, and then just kind of let them share their story.
Absolutely. And I think some of that happens. We were talking specifically about the church, and it's us in the church we grew up with. Is to be married is like
It's the
you've
goal.
you've reached it. You've
It's the
done all that you
basic
need to do as
need.
a woman, at least.
Hmm.
Exactly. And that's just not. That's an incomplete message. We have a lot of single women in the church who are very active and do wonderful things, but it's like this idea that if you're not coupled or paired
Hmm.
up, that
Something's wrong with
something's
you.
wrong with you, and
Yeah.
that's not okay. So we wanted to highlight that.
Yep. So
Hmm.
what we'll do is we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back, and Simone will introduce our guests, and then we'll let them talk for a minute, and then we'll jump into the
Hmm.
discussion.
Oh wait, one more thing. I just want to say
Yes.
this: the episode with our spouses. If you want to go back and watch, that was episode 10.
Yes, that was
Can you
episode
believe
10.
that?
That was the
Episode 10.
that was the first time we did a watch party on Facebook with that episode. That was our launch.
Okay. Okay. Yep. All right.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll be right back with our special guest for the evening. All right, everyone, we are back. And as you can see, our boxes went from 2 to 4s. We have two special guests with us tonight. And before Simone introduces them, I just first want to say thank you to Margaret and Keon for joining us this evening.
Welcome.
Yes.
You're most
Thank you for
welcome.
being here. So yes, as Tiffany already said, we have Margaret Cowan and we have James Johnson, who I know as Keon. Also, footage. I call him footage behind his back because he's always recording.
Always
Um,
recording.
And we talked a little bit before about Margaret, about your nonprofit, My Sister's Keeper. And so I mentioned a little bit about it. But if you would tell people more about what you want them to know and how to donate, that would be wonderful.
Cool. And thank you all for having me. And thank you for sharing about my nonprofit. It's very important work that we are doing here in Memphis, Tennessee. Our nonprofit is called I Am My Sister's Keeper. It is for single moms who are working and or in school. Not that other types of single moms don't need our assistance, but that's where we chose to place our focus because it's that much harder when you have to work and when you have to go to school. So we do enrichment activities every Friday. We have bi-weekly check-ins, mental health. Hey girl, how was your day? What's going on? Anything you want to talk about, vent about, pat yourself on the back about, just those type of things. And then we have every other Sunday, our Sunday shops, which one was today, where they have the opportunity to not come in because of COVID, of course, to send a list of items that they need based on a list that I furnished them with. And we pack up the bags, myself and or the board members, and take it outside like kind of a curbside pickup.
Mm.
So that is what we are doing presently. We also are starting some funds to help them buy cash cards, a bit like a savings match type of program, or to help them with those down payments or deposits for housing. Because when you work, of course, you can pay the rent, but coming up with like $1,500 to pay the deposit in the first month is not as easy as paying the $800 a month for rent.
Right,
So we're
absolutely.
working on those programs, hopefully to roll them out next month. So anytime that you donate or buy a T-shirt or a calendar, that is what you are helping us do for single moms here in Memphis.
Awesome.
Thank you. And you didn't highlight how people could donate, did you?
I'm sorry. Our website is www.iammysissies, keeper.org. We also have Cash App. all of that stuff is listed out on the website. I don't want to take up all our time telling you all the ways, but you can also text me or call me. My number is everywhere because I believe that block is a real thing. So if you're crazy, I can block you. It's okay.
That's true.
But it's everywhere. So if you want to text me or get in touch with me, please do so. And I will give you all the information that you need.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Keon, do you want to talk about your cooking channel or no?
We don't have to talk about that because it's not a channel. So,
well, a cooking thing that you do. It's a thing that you do, and I tune in. I have actually, I do. You know, I do. I write you messages.
Yes.
Like, Keon,
what
are you doing?
Anything?
Huh?
Have you learned anything?
Not yet, but I.
Fine.
Anyway, thank you all both for being here so much. So, like Tiffany said before, we just want to talk about and just kind of, normalize singleness during these corona times because I was raised by a single person, and I had no idea what she was going through during that time. But and I have to shout you out too, Margaret, because you did a podcast back in, you said October, correct?
Yeah.
And what was the name of that? Go ahead.
She just aired it. She did a lot of podcasts because she just had a baby. So she knew that she was going to have to take some time off. So recorded in October, her podcast is called Therapy as a Christian.
Yes. Awesome. And Margaret was talking about so many things about, just your story. And one of the things that stood out to me was your journey as a single mom and just a single person and all that it took. So that's one of the reasons I'm glad that we asked you to be on today. So, yeah.
And
go ahead, Tiff.
Before I was gonna say, I'll let the cat out of the bag. Keon is my cousin, so can't you see the family resemblance? All that light brightness in the connection. But when I think about single people, I know we talked about this before you all came on. There's all these misperceptions that single people are unhappy, they're lonely, and I think of Keon, who is single, and he's one of the most happiest people that I know. He's very jovial. He's always doing something. He's always going somewhere. He's very active. And I know that's one of the reasons I really wanted you to come on, because I feel like you are a myth buster for some people who just think that there's, folks are just sitting out here at home, chilling, not doing anything, and, being sad and being lonely. And no, singles are out here doing that. Yeah.
So tell us, how has it been for you all during, specifically during COVID, being single? What are some things that you have noticed? What has your experience been like during this time? And Keon, you can go. Oh, okay. Mark, you can go first.
No.
Mark, go ahead.
That's what I was about to say. No, I was about to say I always volunteer to go first, so I'll be trying to wait and let somebody else go. So I will wait.
Go ahead, Keon.
So for me, when it gets cold, it's a little harder because even though I can go some places, I do try to limit going, trying to be kind of good. So I'm not going to all the clubs and everything. Many of my friends are pretty lackadaisical about it, or have already had it and have this false conception they can't get it again. Like I was out in the park in March or probably April, right when all this started, and this guy walked up, and we was like, all the men there were like, he was just on the phone on Facebook last week talking about that he thought he was going to die because he was in the hospital with COVID, and here he's out now partying. So that's how the response has been in Atlanta. Some people tried to shame him about it, but when you start asking questions, there's plenty of guys that have had it and they survived it. One of my friends even planned a camping trip, and I really wanted to go. It wasn't a true camping trip. One of the things they do down here is when they want to get away from the city, they go rent a cabin up in the North Georgia woods, or maybe Tennessee or North Carolina, and go have like a weekend away from it all, so to speak. So some guys did that, and I wanted to go, but I'm like, it's bad enough I go to the club sometime. I'm not trying to be in a house with all these people. I don't know their status in regards to COVID for an entire weekend and have to wear my mask the entire weekend.
Right.
But when it was warm, basically one thing I did to break the monotony is I rode my bike. And I rode my bike like every weekend or every other weekend when I had the chance. And the way I felt, it was pretty safe because you're going out, it's out in the air. And if you come up to someone, you just don't stay in their vicinity. And I would do that on Sundays or Saturdays all summer and spring. And that's how I got my kind of interaction with people, because I could at least people watch.
Mm-hmm.
And but again, like I said, in the winter, it's a little harder because I'm not getting ready to go bike ride in 40 and 30-degree weather in Atlanta, not me.
Yeah.
And most people are now inside versus where they weren't. And so that's kind of hard. It's like if someone has a party, do you want to go? Do you not want to go? You're going to wear your mask and things of that nature.
Margaret, what about you?
Much like Keon, it was easier in the summer because I like to be outside. I'm a country girl from Alabama. So even though you may not know they're looking at me, I like to be outside. So we would do, we have started having like a church group at my house because churches are closed. So we would do it outside first. And then even with activities with the moms of the nonprofit, we would do things at a park. They have a really nice park here called Shelby Farms. And they have like paddle boats and kayaks and canoes and all that stuff. So we would do those kind of activities. It's hard to do those things in the winter because I'm a tropical people. So it's cold. It's cold outside. So, but I still do have my small group church thing here at the house because these are my people. You understand what I'm saying? And I know that they are observing all the precautions. As it pertains to dating, even pre-COVID, I meet people. I don't date seriously as much as I would like because sadly, I have the gift of discernment. So when I'm in foolish
sadly, what do you mean sadly?
Because sometimes I wish it could just last, the mystery could last just a little longer. So I wouldn't know. That's what I mean. So
the BS comes right away. You recognize it too soon.
It's like, oh, did you mean to say that? I don't even think you know you said that, but I picked up that you said that. And nothing that you ever say is just what you say to somebody like me. I'm always like beneath the surface,
reading between
even when it's not intentional. So COVID has been hard for me in that I'm a people person. I am very much an extrovert. I miss hugging people. I miss just being able to, like, if I come to Louisville, I can't really just come visit y'all. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's a weird visit. We're like doing elbows and fist bumps and stuff like that. So dating was weird for me before, and especially now, so because I'm just so busy, and I would like to date, but it has to be in alignment with what I know my purpose is right now. So that's COVID kind of has a factor, but not really. It's an excuse, kind of like, oh no, I'm not seeing anyone really because it's COVID, but it's really just like, I got stuff to do.
Yeah. Well, before we go on, I would just like to say, well. Look
what the cat drug in.
I mean, really.
I know. Everybody gets one, right?
Yeah.
I had one. I did have one.
Everybody gets one.
We're so glad you're here.
Yes.
See, at least somebody recognizes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, because I'm not getting anything from these two.
Not tonight. No, we complimented you heavily last week, so your time has ended. So
that's
the window has closed. So sorry.
Right. Exactly.
Keon, what's good?
What's up, brother?
Not much, man. Good to see you.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I wanted to help you out so you don't get ganged up this year.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, give you a little more male support, little
more balance.
What you call infusion of testosterone in the room.
Oh Lord.
Anyway, listen, you can still be put in the waiting room. Okay,
yes.
One of y'all put you in the waiting room.
Put you back in there.
Margaret, something that you said, it kind of struck me a little bit because I wonder if for single people, if because of COVID, it's made their dating behaviors like maybe be more intentional. Because you can't just be as casual. Not like, I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about, like, oh, sure. Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll go out with you. Now, I would imagine that's not a thing. Like, I got to really know, like, you could be worth me putting myself at risk.
How do you do that? Do y'all take temperatures before y'all gather together?
Worth the exposure.
You trying to risk it all for you?
Right. My soul says no. No, because like, honestly, I don't want to like derail the conversation, but okay, I'm 40 years old. I have no problem with saying that. Sometimes I don't even know what's happening anymore. Like, what is dating anymore? You know, people just like slide on into situationships or relationships, and it's all very confusing. I
Entanglements.
won't. Yes, entanglement.
Yes,
So it's kind of
entanglement.
like
Entanglement.
I have been on dates. I'm dating someone regularly, not exclusively.
Mhm.
So I'm still single. But
Right.
I know where he works. He works with a high risk population, so they constantly get tests for work. So I feel better about that. Um, so yeah, I mean, I've become more intentional in my dating anyway, but COVID has definitely helped with that.
Yeah.
Because people do too much. Like Keon was
do.
saying, like, sir, I saw you on Facebook Live in the club. Like, no, we can't go anywhere and do anything. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would imagine I'd be checking. Like, okay, you want to go out? Let's see, where were you yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Keon, how's that work
Let
for
me
you?
see your stories.
Are you screening people? Are you asking questions? Because I know just for us, not single at all, but I don't be wanting to let other people inside my bubble. You know.
Maybe because I'm single, I'm more daring, or maybe I take more risks. The way I'm kind of gambling is that most of the people that get this have health issues. Most of them. I don't believe I have any health issues. My main concern has been for my elders and people like that who are more at high risk. All my old relatives are in Kentucky and I'm in Georgia. So
So
the
you're
way I
good.
can
You're clear. You're clear.
rationalize it, if you are young in my age range and you die, I don't know, But I haven't really been around anyone except for my best friend who's only 10 years older than me. He's in his 50s and he's a little more cautious because of that. But most of my friends are in my age range. I'm 41 or in their 20s. So I'm not kind of worried. Now, if I was back home in Kentucky with my relatives like Tiffany's grandmother and people like that, then I would probably be more careful because I know I'm going to possibly have to be around them. And from what I've heard, based from my relatives in Kentucky, I wouldn't even be able to do that.
No,
They,
you can't.
that's what she's saying that they wouldn't even let me in anyway. So I still would be
They
doing what I want
don't.
to do
They
anyway.
don't want nothing to do with nobody.
Betty and Bernice will check
Exactly.
you at the door. They were asking your temperatures. They want to see where you've been. They're not letting you in the house.
They passed me a whole container of what is it? Potato salad through the door. They was like, here you go.
Enjoy that, baby.
Surprised they didn't just toss it to you like, here, catch.
See, I haven't had that. Now, that's the other thing about isolation because most of my relatives are back home in Kentucky. It's no one to go around. The only other old people I know are at church, and church is closed. So
Right.
I'm not trying to say I don't care about taking care of myself, but I'm more comfortable risking 41-year-old Keon versus risking 70-plus-year-old so-and-so.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm not around them. I'm not going to see them. So if I'm just a carrier, which most of us are, possibly and not even know it, if I'm a carrier, who am I gonna give it to?
Right.
I go to the club. Me and my friends are the only ones wearing a mask. Everyone else is walking around with no mask. It's almost like you count the mask on your hand. Some people are like, "Well, I'll go, but I'm going to wear a mask." But you can count on your hand sometimes how many that had it. Now, when we had that spike, like right after Christmas, it was weird. I started noticing a lot of masks. But I started noticing a lot of masks.
We getting
Now,
spooked all of a sudden.
I'm serious,
Yeah.
but because I'm going out, you guys don't know it because y'all in states that are on lockdown. Georgia really isn't. Our and people laugh at Atlanta. It's like, no, our mayor shut us down, who is a Democrat. So she did the responsible thing. So we was all thinking, oh, we can't do anything. But our governor is a country Republican, and when I say country, I mean his degree is in agriculture. So that's something else. They elected a person that has a degree in agriculture versus a black woman who has an Ivy League education, but that's a whole nother story. So that is the person that is in charge of Georgia. And he's not going to upset his constituents in rural Georgia.
We've been having some of that same problem here in Kentucky where some people really disagree with our governor about some of the things that he's done as far as closing. There were actually 3 petitions to impeach him this week because of him.
They tried.
Yeah, they tried it because of him doing a mask mandate. But what I'm hearing mostly is that, and I'll say Margaret, I don't know if you said, but Margaret is a mother. So I hear her saying her risk is a little bit greater than yours, Keon, because you have
Yeah.
nobody to essentially bring it home and give it to. You know, it's just you. But I know she's probably thinking about not wanting to give it to her, or her kids not giving it to her. Like either
Or
way.
my mom too, because you know
Yeah.
my mom and I are very close. She lives like 3 minutes away from me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
70 now, so
Miss
Mhm.
Amanda.
yeah.
Mhm,
She had
mhm.
COVID too, actually.
Oh wow.
She did.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
How's she doing?
She's good. It was a while ago. She didn't have to go to the hospital or anything like that, but it was bad. I was there
Yeah.
with her the whole time. It's like a really, 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 really bad flu. It was
Mhm.
bad. Like
Mhm.
had to make her have fluid and make her try to get some soup down just so she could keep whatever strength. Y'all know mama don't sit down.
No.
She was like
No.
sleep all the time. And
Right.
but so this, like I said, it's been a while, but she's better. But it's a horrible thing to watch a loved one, even if they're not in the hospital. It's tough to see.
Mhm. You know, even if you don't, you know, pass away from it, nobody who wants to get sick, and nobody
Yeah.
got time for that. You know,
Yeah.
people got lives to live and things to do. I don't want to get sick, you know, down so bad I can't do the things
Yeah.
I normally do. So
Mhm.
very glad to hear that she has recovered.
Yeah.
And so this is one of the things we had on the list too to talk about was what you learned about yourself. So during this time, at least for me, and I'm sure Brandon, Tiffany will agree, like being married and then having a child, it's like I have felt no time to focus on myself at all. Like I don't know if I learned anything about myself. I'm not sure. Every day is like, okay, how can I make the house run better? Because yesterday was really bad. So I don't know if I'm focusing as much on myself. And so my assumption is that if you are single, if you have the time, the time by yourself, or, you know, because of COVID and being single, that you have more time to learn about yourself or to just appreciate things about yourself more. So what are y'all's thoughts about that? Are there things you've learned about yourself? Are there things that, you know, maybe you've taken more time to do to get more creative, you know, learn something more about yourself?
I have learned tons about myself. Like we just said, my mom is a very busy person. She passed that on to me. And sometimes for Margaret, I use busyness as a distraction from things I really need to be doing. And I think I have been doing that about myself for quite some time. Cause like I'm a single mom, I have 3 kids and I work and I have a nonprofit or whatever. So it's like, I don't have time to be worried about my issues. I don't have issues. Everybody else got the issues. It's all these men. That is what, not even, I will be honest, like probably pre-COVID, Margaret thought that. And then too, I turned 40 during COVID. And like I was telling them when we were doing the check and all that stuff, it's not like I got any new information, just things I already knew started to fit and they started to click. Yes. And so COVID for me personally and professionally has been a time of tremendous growth. In a good way. Growth is uncomfortable though, right? And it's painful. Yeah. And that's why human beings avoid it so much, because it's not fun. But God is a God that slows us down to get our attention. And that's what COVID has been for me. I learned that I am not as healthy mentally and emotionally as I thought I was. It's easy to say that I'm okay when I'm not in a dating space, right? Because then I don't have anybody to challenge my ideals and all of that stuff. And so I dated 2 people during COVID, and one of them inspired me to take a 6-month hiatus from men to get my life together. And
one of the people you were dating was like,
no, it wasn't anything he said. It was, well, you know, Simone, if I am healed, I'm not triggered, right? So there were things that caused me such great emotional turmoil that weren't for him, because I didn't even know you well enough to feel this way about our encounter. And so from April of 2020 to October, which is when I turned 40, I was like, nah, I'm not good, son. I need to take a minute and deal with Margaret's stuff. So it was a good thing, because it helped me realize that I was not as okay as I thought I was. We can look the part all day long, right? But internally I wasn't. So it was a good thing for me. It was a great thing.
I've talked to quite a few people, and you know, when we nobody wants to, and I will never diminish the effects of COVID. People have lost lives. People
Yeah.
have got very sick. There are lives that will never ever be the same. So I'm never going to downplay it. But one of the glass half full things about this whole situation is that we have been forced to slow down and deal with stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
it's different levels for different people, whether you're single, whether you're married, whether you're married with kids, whether you have grown kids, whatever the situation, you still had to slow down and deal with a lot. And that's been a good thing, in for me in my relationships, as well as for a lot of things. That slowing down is so big. Unless you're in Georgia where things are not
Where it's
slowing
popping.
down.
Where it's
Or if you don't choose to take the time, like just because you're given the time doesn't mean people are taking advantage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could find time to veg out all day and watch Netflix all day, or you can choose, like you said, choose not to take the time. One of the things I learned is that my spiritual life is not as strong as I thought it was, because I couldn't go to church anymore, and so I realized that all of my this relationship with God, like, oh, that's all on me. Like, I don't have any rituals, I don't have any all that tradition, I don't have that to fall back on. And so I realized, like, whoa, me and God, we not as tight as I thought we were. So that was definitely one thing that I did learn about myself. I'm sure there are others, but that's coming to me right now.
But one thing I've learned, or I basically have proven in my personal opinion, and for myself, is that we work too much. I was like, that's the one good thing about this. I think Americans work way too much. And when you're in a big city like Atlanta, it just takes a little more to make it. So, like, a lot of y'all probably don't know this, but I live in Southwest Atlanta, which is in the southwest corner of the city of Atlanta. And my job is in Gwinnett County. And I work like in the middle of Gwinnett County, which is from my house about 25 to 30 miles one way. And Atlanta is spread out like that. So basically equivalent, if you were thinking about Louisville, it would be like living in the West End and working in LaGrange, Kentucky every day, basically, having to drive out there. But with more people and more traffic.
Right. That's an hour's long drive for you.
Yeah.
There you go. So basically what I noticed is that now they finally let us start working from home, as opposed, I'm not an early riser. It would be like I would have to get up around 6 something. Now I get up at 7:45, press the snooze button, and then get on the computer because I'm supposed to be there by 8, and I have like about 3 more minutes to spare. So I'm like, this is so much easier. I don't know why we as a whole nation ain't doing something like that.
Why do we even go to work? Like, what is
Right.
that?
Like, I can do my whole job
Why
here.
do we even go? It's
right.
I'm more efficient
the
at
money's
home,
in my
actually.
account. Don't even
I ain't gotta take sick time. I can just go do my appointment and come back, and they wouldn't know. Like, you don't need to know where I'm at.
Not to get off.
I'm meddling. Sorry.
Not to let Keon not finish, but I can imagine when we come back, employers are going to have a hard time making a case for going back to your building when this is over.
They're already trying.
I'll say this: I need a hybrid because I am that people person. So I need to see folks like twice a week. Let me see you twice a week on like maybe a Tuesday, Wednesday. Let me spend Monday and Friday at the house.
I don't know. I ain't there yet. Give me total work from home.
I'm probably that guy who needs work from home because I have a unique personality and some people just can't deal with it.
I know, right? I was like, no,
But on top of that, then I'm a male and I'm black and I'm gay, so I like to joke around and everything. And you can't do that in corporate America, especially as a black man. And then most of the people I work with tend to be white women. So I'm like, I can't say anything.
They're gonna let you stay home, Keon. They're gonna let you stay.
Request you can keep your job if you stay home.
I have like 2 or 3 people I deal with on the job, and they're like, well, why don't you go and talk to somebody? I said no, because when I say something, I'm being sent to the principal's office, aka HR.
HR.
So
You don't need that
and
problem.
then like even with some of the women, they're like, "Aren't you mad? Aren't you gonna do something?" I said, "I can't get mad." They're like, "Why?" I said, "Because I'm a black man. I get mad. He's belligerent. Take him down. Get the tasers." I said, "I can't do
Security.
this." Basically, it was like this one lady I work with, and she's Caucasian, and she was complaining about the job, and she would complain about it every day, all the time, talking about how bad it is. So one day we was at lunch, and I just asked her. I said, "So and so, how does it feel to be white and be able to say whatever you want to say and still have a job?" And she just looked at me like,
You
"What
feel
do
like
you
I'm
do,
white?
Jane?
Right.
What do you mean?" I said, "I just want to know what it feels like." I said, "Now, me as a black man, if I came here and complained vocally about this job as much as you do, I wouldn't have a job."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "You come here every day and say stuff, and you still have a job." And I just want to know what it means like, what it feels like, because I haven't experienced that. I'm the guy that's lost jobs for saying stuff the wrong way.
So
Tiffany,
going,
you were
gonna
say something
I'm
earlier.
gonna bring it around. So
Pull
going
us back
to what
pull
we
us
were
back.
talking about learning something about ourselves. I wanted to piggyback on what Keon was saying actually about
Working too
the whole
much.
no, not just working too much, but this one of the things that you said I've actually learned about myself, and that's what you were saying about not being able to have a voice, like you don't feel like you have a voice in your job because you can't really speak up. I feel like I have found my voice working at home because normally I would be the person. I think I felt a little defeated by the fact that I'm in a space where there's not very many people that look like me. So then I wouldn't say anything because I don't feel like I should say anything. I don't feel like I have the power to say anything. So I would say that this time period of COVID and maybe even working behind the screens, maybe that's giving me a little bit more.
Now you an internet game. Now you a screen
Yeah,
game.
she
I'm a
keyboard
screen
gangster.
gangster. Okay, I'm a Teams gangster.
Teams game.
She be
I'm
like,
at-
she ain't come.
I think it's given me a little bit more of encouragement to use my voice and to speak up. And not just that, but I've been able, being working from home has made it possible for me to be a part of so many more committees and stuff at work that I would not, like diversity and inclusion groups or the Black Faculty and Staff Association, like things I just could not make it to in real time because it wasn't presented for us virtually. So I think it's given me that. But then I also want to go back to what Simone was saying because I felt that too, Simone. Like I really felt like a lot of COVID, I just focus on team us, me and my spouse that I live with. We just, how do we make the house run better? How do we interact? How do we make our relationship better? But you also have to take the time and think about you and things that you've learned during this time too. So it's not just reflection for the whole, like the household as a whole, but you too. How have you improved? What have you done? What have you done with yourself? And along with those lines, learning how to get a better spiritual relationship in the midst of this, because now I realize this: I have no excuses for not having a good relationship, and I can't hide behind, oh, I'm in the church every week, I'm an elder, I'm busy, I'm doing this at church, I'm doing that at church, because there's no church to go to anymore.
Right.
So trying to
You
figure
can now
out,
go to 80 churches online if you want to.
I
You
go
can
to
get
all of
5
them.
sermons.
All the churches online.
Right.
Stephen Furtick is my pastor. I'm just gonna keep on running. Like,
What'd you
that's
say?
my pastor, Stephen Furtick.
Oh yeah.
The handsome white man.
Because listen, Tiffany, in all honesty, shouts out to his wife Holly. That's why I started watching, because I was like, this young man right here
He's handsome.
is nice
Wait,
to look
what
at.
church is that?
And then I don't want to say, is it Elevation?
Elevation Church.
Elevation
Yeah.
Church. Okay, I've heard of that. I heard.
And then
about
I said,
that.
oh, and then he has a word from God. Yes.
And then he has a word.
I really like him.
And also,
Sounds like you plotting over there, Omar. That's what it sounded like to
No,
me.
he
But
has
I'm
a
gonna
wife.
leave that alone.
Look,
now I have dated a married man when I was like 20 something. We don't.
Ooh.
That's another whole show.
now
But
see,
I
that's
had
a
learned.
good segue though.
I had
Because-
learned with a T. I had learned my lesson.
That's a
in
good
dealing-
segue though.
What?
That's a good segue.
The segue
Yeah, because
into
there's this
my-
idea about desperate. Yes, about your.
It wasn't
yeah.
desperation.
That's what I'm
was-
saying, right?
It was the sheer ignorance of youth. It
There's
was.
some benefits in being the mistress, though. Let's keep it real.
Oh,
Brother
Lord.
Keon ain't told nary a lie. I'm not.
Okay,
There's some
but
benefits, and people don't think about that.
let me just
I was out
clarify
for
a
dinner with a
second.
girl
Wait
in
a minute. Well, wait a minute. Hold on. I just wanted to clarify. There's this idea that single folks are desperate desperate, that they are wanting someone all the time, that they feel incomplete. And I was saying that is often not the case. So
It
I just
usually
want to make
isn't.
that clear.
We got
Please
game recognized
continue
game.
on.
First of all, let me state that this is no way my endorsement of dating.
That's what I wanted
married
you to
people,
say. Thank
men
you.
or women. This is not my endorsement. I really don't advise it because some people don't have.
They ain't
You
strong
shouldn't
enough
have the
for it.
emotional. You can't do it.
You can't have emotional attachment.
That's right.
I was in my 20s. I did not care. I led myself to believe that he married. That's between him and God. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But in truth, it is between me and God as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I never was naive. Like, I don't want you to leave your wife, because in truth, I don't want you, because you cheat on people. Like,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Nah.
I don't want that. I don't want that.
That's the
I'm
reality.
not that foolish. Like,
Right.
no. But those weekly allowances and those hush funds and things of that nature, because that's
Ooh.
what they
I
were.
don't get a hush fund.
Exactly.
That's-
You married.
Your time has passed. Your time has passed.
It
Now
is
go
kinda
back over
fun.
there and enjoy your 20s.
Because you don't have to hush. But I wasn't gonna say nothing anyway. But I'll take your money and pretend that this is why I am silent.
And don't forget, and you get to send him home when he get hungry, so his wife can cook and clean for him.
So it's like I have a boyfriend that has a curfew, and then I can have another boyfriend. So,
Yep.
Oh, God.
Game recognized game.
In my
Y'all better
20s,
listen.
y'all, look, y'all don't know me like that, but y'all know about me from magazine. I was something else.
But you know,
for the blood of Jesus.
I'm gonna interject a little bit into that. Not because I've had experiences or anything like that.
You had experiences, Brandon? You had experiences?
Nope.
Has it?
Nothing but pureness over here.
That's not true.
Nothing but pureness.
Tell the truth and shame the devil.
If I'm lying, I'm flying, and my pants is still up on this seat. Nothing but pure. I will say this though. I think that's you do make these mistakes when you're in your 20s. I really do feel it. And this is not to condone. This is not to say we say, oh, it's just great to go date. No. It's better to do it in your 20s than it is in your 30s and 40s.
Correct.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't have an excuse.
Right. This is what you ain't got no excuse. I'm gonna look at your salaries, but if you in your 20s making mistakes, you're like, you're 20. You know, you're 23, 24.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you can do these things. And I think a lot of times having that, it's going to sound bad, but having that foundation actually helps you as you get older into your 30s and into your 40s, acknowledging a lot of things. And even if you are quote unquote single or whatever, it may not be, and correct me from, it may not be as, singleness may not be as downtrodden or as depressing as some folks make it seem, because you've had those other experiences in your 20s, your early 20s and late 20s and whatnot.
And you know what, Brent? I think the same can be said for people who are married now. I think we talk about this a lot. Like the fact that you do a lot of, I'm not speaking of you in general, but the fact that people would
not me though
20s, like do that when you're 20 in your 20s, so that when you do get married, whenever that is, you don't have this whole I missed out on stuff going on, you know, where I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I wasn't hanging out of here, and you know, you don't have that whole issue inside your marriage, or where you feel like you missed out on something.
Baby, I did all the things. I'm ready to sit down and be somebody's wife. I don't need to do another thing. I don't need to do another thing in my life. I'm trying to
it makes you, I feel like it makes you more savvy, you know. And I know your kids are older now, Margaret, but I would imagine that there are things that they try to be sneaky. There's some stuff you're gonna know because you've been there, done that.
They did, really.
And you wouldn't and you wouldn't be able to make that face had you not had your time out there.
Mama, poor mama.
Right.
Lord,
I hear it on both sides. I hear Margaret saying discernment, and I hear Keon saying game recognized game. So I mean, they're saying the same thing, you know. Like we see you because we've been out here, we've done things. We see what's up.
The way I say it is just a little more palatable.
It is.
It does that.
Don't turn off the white ladies at work. You know what I'm saying?
Are these current white ladies? Because this is gonna air, and I don't want you to get.
So go after that.
Working from home.
But I know that you all kind of piggybacking on the question. It doesn't sound like that you two have any level of feeling incomplete, or that you're craving spouses or craving just stuff,
Well,
you're not desperate.
I mean, there's some things I would like and such, but I don't know if I'm prepared to deal with them. And I would love the benefits of a relationship, but I don't necessarily want the work I hear everyone talk about. And for the work, I probably don't need it. You know, yeah, I'm just being honest. Like, I would love to have a child. I would love to give my mother a second grandchild. And it's like, well, people are like, well, why not? Does everything work? You can. I said, well, one, that's not responsible. Number two, I don't feel like I make enough money to pay child support, and I don't make enough money to take care of the child by myself. And I'm not past being selfish. I'm like, you tell me I can't have my T-bone steak because you need braces? What? I can't go on vacation because you gotta go on some field
it costs
trip.
the amount of braces though.
T-bone though, that's expensive.
But he's adding up the amount of T-bones he could have.
It's not even that. I mean, when you're single, well, I'm single and childless, so that's another level right there.
Yeah.
Basically, with my friend, I don't know how I would take care of a child. Like I told you, my job is 25 miles one way from me. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, if I had a child, I calculate like this. If I had a child, and on top of that, I was not married, I would have to make sure the child goes to school, number one. I would have to have someone get them to school, someone get them from school, and be here by the time I get home at a certain time.
And don't you have a part-time? You have a second job?
That's on top of that. I work like 3 different jobs. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you can't do that. You have to be home with your child. Mm-hmm. And even after your child is old enough to be home by itself, you have to check on your child all the time. Mm-hmm. I don't know how people do it as single. I wouldn't do it if I had the choice. No. And that's when
we didn't choose it. Like that. I didn't set out to be a single mom. Like, nah.
That was just a situation.
Yeah, you do it because you simply have to. It's not something that I would do over. You know what I'm saying? Do the same way. If I could do it different, I wouldn't.
I'm not judging you, but
I don't feel judged at all.
But I live in Atlanta, and my mother always taught me that people choose their circumstances. She said, she was talking about people in the 70s. She said in the 70s, we didn't have access to condoms. Abortions were illegal in most states. You could travel and such, but you still had human hormones. So people basically had, quote unquote, accidental babies. When me and my sister got ready for the talk, she said, there's no such thing as an accidental baby if you're an adult. She said, if you know where they come from and you engage in the act that creates children, and you do not take any of the myriad of opportunities to prevent that, i.e. a condom, God forbid, the pull-out method, which isn't 100% effective, or another type of intercourse, or birth control pills, or today the Plan B pill, or God forbid, the abortion. In other words, you have over 6 different ways to not have a child if you choose not to, married or not.
Okay, wait. No, hold on. So, Margaret, go ahead, please.
I have a baby on birth control pills. I have a baby from the shot, and I have a baby from the patch, and some condoms up in the mix. So the only sure way to not have a baby is to not have sex. Now, we know that. But it ain't like I was just out here crap shooting. Like, I'm on birth control, like, faithfully, because Margaret wanted to be a investigative journalist on a helicopter in Iraq somewhere. So I thought I was being responsible by being on birth control. So can't nobody ever tell me my kids are not supposed to be here, because I tried to not have them. I wouldn't trade them for the world, but I was not trying to have kids.
Right.
Also, there are people who get married and they have this idea that they're going to be with this person because that's what they signed on for, and then they realize that person was not who they said they were.
Or their spouse dies.
What'd you say?
Or their spouse dies. Yeah,
absolutely. And that was my situation. That was my situation growing up, was, my mom was married when she had me, but it didn't work out. So she
Mhm.
had to do it on her own. She did not choose that. But like Margaret said, she did what she had to do. And I don't know. I don't know how y'all do it. I don't, because
Yeah.
I struggle with the one that I have with Sean, with my husband. I'm like, the resilience, I the
I
And we can't tell
independence.
you how. And it's not like we choose not to share. We really don't know
Right.
either. Like,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
y'all do it.
I
And
was
right.
that
speaking
says a lot.
generally. We all have exceptions. There's always exceptions to the rule, but
And I had to speak on
the statistic for us right now is African Americans is approximately 70% of our children are born out of wedlock. You don't get that high without some choices. You do
Yeah,
have
but you have to
Yeah.
think about age group. I mean, there's so many other
There's
factors.
so many other
But
factors.
yeah, we
Yeah.
have to think more complex about that. We can't just take
For
the
another
number.
day.
There's a
For another
lot.
day. For another
Yeah,
day.
definitely.
For another day. For another day.
And then the issue on single people, I was going to bring that up too. I didn't know when to bring it up, but most of us are staying single. They did a report about 2-3 years ago that said for the first time in American history, since it's been counted, there are more single people than married. We used to get married like right after we got out of high school. Now, I don't know. Some people, we take upon, from a man's perspective, I would say, what are you supposed to be able to do when you get married? You're supposed to be able to take care of yourself, take care of your wife and children. Shit, they come along. You're supposed to be responsible. Once upon a time, that was like, once you got out of high school, you got a good job to do that. It went up to you get college. Now I don't know where it's at because you got the emotional support. I talked to a pastor. He said, I counsel people to get married. They're in their 40s and 50s, and I still don't think they're ready.
Mhm.
But my point being is most of us are now single as opposed to being married like it once was.
Mhm.
I want to say this too about that. I'm glad you said that, Keon, because I wanted to say something, but I forgot what we were talking about. But as it pertains to being single, I am content being single. That does not mean I do not want to be married.
Mhm.
I just want to say that because I think people get it twisted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to have a husband, but I'm not gonna just have a husband for the sake of having
Having
a
Just
a
husband.
to say
husband.
you have
Right.
one.
I was created from a man, so I do yearn for a man in a sense, but not enough to put myself in a situation that worsens what my life is. You know what I'm saying? So I just
Absolutely.
wanted to make that clear. I do want to be
Mhm.
married, but not at the expense of myself or my children.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think now, I think the situations are a little bit different now.
Mhm.
Women, from whatever I've been able to read and this, that, and the other, it was a big deal for a lot of women to get married because there were a lot of things women could not do on their own, right?
Right. That's true.
Right. Women, they couldn't even open up a credit card in their name up until like in the 70s or something, 60s or 70s or
Or
something
get an
along those lines.
apartment. Or get an apartment.
Right. Versus now, there's really no limit to what women can do. So I think it does allow a lot of women to not have to be to force the situation. They can kind of get
Exactly.
married when they choose to get married, which I think, from the outside looking in, I think that's actually not so bad of a thing.
Yeah.
And
But
on
see,
the
when we
flip
have the right
side,
to choose, we'll
oh,
make better choices.
and on the flip
Yes.
side, Brandon, on the
Absolutely.
man's point of view, men don't have to wait to get married to engage the pleasures of the flesh like they used to do back on Little House on the Prairie years.
Yeah.
That's
But
something
even
we
but
just
even
talked.
then though, men could do that before and still
It
have
And
was
a
still be
very,
perfectly
fine.
wonderful
it
life.
was very
Women,
hard.
we would be
You had
ruined.
The
you had to
Scarlet
pay for
Letter
it
is
exactly.
Yeah.
You would have
Right.
to go
Yeah.
into the saloon and visit Miss Kitty.
Oh Lord.
But y'all
He
can
went
still
So
way
go.
back
Y'all could go and come back out and go home to your
and still
wife
go
or whatever
home.
you wanted.
Yeah.
The good
We
old
were
days.
ruined.
That was one thing I wanted to hit on because Brandon was going that way when he was talking about his last point. I very quickly want to just touch on the messaging that we get from church about being single because all of us are church kids.
right.
Most of us grew up in the same church together. Like a lot of what Brandon was talking about women just being expected to marry. A lot of that I got from church. Like
Yes.
we talked about before y'all came on, Simone and I grew up thinking that the epitome of womanhood was you're supposed to get married. And then after you get married, they're trying to figure out when you're going to have the babies.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I definitely want to talk about what kind of messaging single people get at church. I do think at church is where a lot of that that mindset of, oh, single people are desperate, let's pair them up with the first person that pops in the door, situation.
For real.
I'll go first. I think it just depends on the church and the culture and denomination. For instance, in my youth, I was like a church hopper, and I would go to different Seventh-day Adventist churches in Atlanta. And one church I went to help me learn Spanish, I went to First Spanish Seventh-day Adventist Church for a whole year. And I was only 18 because I remember I hadn't graduated high school yet. And they was already asking me when I was going to get married, because in Latin culture, it's still traditional that you need to get married and get married soon and start having children. I didn't get that many questions like that at West End Seventh-day Adventist Church, which is predominantly African American. And I probably get a little bit more now because I'm 40, but most people in my church know I'm gay, so I don't even hardly get it now either. But if I was, I probably get it more now in my 30s and 40s. But on the other hand, singleness, like I said, most of us are single now. And some people aren't ready to be married even when they get up to like their 50s. Like I was on my singles ministry at my church last year. And even before that, I would go. And for the longest, when I was in my 30s, I was considered a young adult at my church. And with the singles committee, I have people that are in their 50s, 40s, and sometimes older who have either never been married or haven't been married since their first marriage. So it isn't like it used to be where the singles were teenagers and in their 20s. Now we are having to minister to people that are that old. And in my church, we kind of separated it because it's so large that we had like young singles and seasoned singles. And the seasoned singles were the ones that were like in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. Some of them not been married
Salty,
ever.
peppery.
Or they were widows. And I'm just saying they were that old. So it's like, you know, I respect my elders, but I'm not trying to necessarily party with someone that's in her 60s. So the things that younger people between 25 to 50 want to do is not necessarily the same thing that people 50 and up want to do. So we kind of had to split it down that line in the church to a certain extent. But I don't really feel that's that much pressure on me to get married in the church per se. I probably place more pressure on myself. And again, my main concern, or one of the main things I want, is the legacy, the offspring. And I technically could have that without being married. I would be married though, because any woman takes care of my child or bears my child, I want to make sure she's taken care of. And if something happens to me and we're married, she get this house, she get everything, and I know that child and she will be taken care of. But that's just me.
Margaret, what about you?
I'm going to answer your question, but I am going to say that Simone is very much like me.
Really?
We talk about that because your face every single time. I don't know.
I've been noticing the face too. I just been ignoring it.
Whatever I think, whatever I'm feeling, you're going to see it.
I was ignoring it because I think I said a couple of things.
That makes me feel at home on this here broadcast. That's all I'm But to answer that question, I had my first child when I was 19. So in the eyes of our church, I was damaged goods. So nobody wants to pair me with anybody. She's a harlot. Jezebel. Like, no, we don't want to pair her up with our good, upstanding boys. You know what I'm saying? So there was that. And then I've even had a person from our faith tell me that no one is going to marry you with all those children. Yes. So when I was younger, people didn't try to pair me up. What I've noticed now, well, pre-corona, when there would be someone at church seemingly single, right? Because we just see a man by himself and we assume, that he don't have nobody. I'm getting the eyes. And I'm like, I don't really want no church dude, to be honest. Not to say that I don't want a man of God, but for me, and I'm not going to get into that, religion and Christianity are not synonymous. That's just my opinion. Not always. Let me say that.
Yeah.
And so just because you look the part does not mean you are the part. So I know I grew up with a lot of men that were in church, and I know these people intimately. And I'm like, no, my brother. And it's not a shameful thing, but it's just like there is an assumption. What I found is that, well, that's just the way society is, right? Guys get to be away, but
Yes,
Where girls cannot.
we cannot.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I have always rebuffed the status quo. So I'm gonna do what I want, and I'm gonna say what I want, and I'm gonna wear these fishnets and this red lipstick until the Lord Himself comes down here and say not to do it. So I didn't have a lot of people trying to pair me up because I was damaged goods from a young age. That's my truth. And
That's it's so crazy, the messaging that because the 5 of us that are on here have gotten 5 different messages.
Yeah.
When it comes to that, because we were all single at one point, right?
Right.
And so the messaging is just different. Myself and Keon's messaging is probably more similar,
Right.
but
And the females' messaging is probably more similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we had children, it would have been different.
Yeah.
The 3, but
it would have been different.
The 3 of us, me, Tiffany, and Brandon, we have actually talked about, just being totally transparent, Margaret, we've talked about the treatment that it looked like you were receiving back then, because we were younger, but we saw different things.
Correct.
But we saw Brandon saw something different. Me and Tiffany saw more similarities. Exactly. And we talked about how
Brandon, what you see, Brandon?
nothing.
Not
a daggone thing.
I just didn't see them no more. They was just gone. And we talked about this last week, how we were saying in our cases when young people in our church, it was just so different when people would have babies. I don't know if many people are familiar with Adventism as we talk about this. There's something called censorship. And to us, it would just be like people would just disappear. Like the rapture has come and taken them, and we haven't.
But I wasn't censored, y'all. I was disfellowship.
Oh, that too, yeah.
I was told I wasn't censored because I didn't do nothing at church anyway.
So that's a conversation for another day, because I'm gonna go like, what's the point of this fellowship in somebody who's not actively involved in leadership positions anyway? But that's for another time. But for us as teenage girls, we just wouldn't see people anymore. They'd just be gone, and it'd be like we didn't know why, we didn't know what happened.
They were still doing that in magazine. They were still doing that?
Yeah, because that's where I had my babies. All my kids are.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know they were still doing that.
And nobody said anything.
I mean, I got censored.
Nobody said anything, any specific name. But when people disappeared or what have you, or they were no longer allowed to do this or that, as a young girl,
you just knew
that meant, and you're like, oh, okay, because there's a line drawn, and just how not God like that is.
Yes, and that was threatening for us. Not to say you're gonna like, don't be like Margaret or don't be like such. It was just like, you can't be in church. You will disappoint your family. You won't be able to do this or that. That was.
And what are you supposed to do with that? Like, how is that helpful?
Because you're a church fan, girl. We need to have a whole nother conversation on this.
You ain't lying.
I know.
Because we already feel badly for what we've done, right? Because we're raised in the church, so we know better. And then the one place that is supposed to be accepting of me and all of my flaws, because you are like Jesus, correct?
Right.
You tell me I can't be here, or you can be here, but you can come, but you can't sit at our table.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
So what do I do with that? And then you're like, don't stop going because of that. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Right.
Done by everybody who used to be so loving and accepting of me.
Exactly.
Oh, this can't be that agape love y'all talk about.
No,
it's conditional.
It's confusing though, too, because then when your baby comes, they want to bless your baby. And
they want to bless your baby.
I'm confused.
You're supposed to walk to the front with pride and have everybody stand there with you. I'm like, hold on, but you
have thrown me to the wayside. Now y'all want to have us over for dinner.
Yeah. It's very confusing. And
that's interesting. I don't really see that as much in Atlanta anymore. I was talking to a pastor and he said that it was an old practice, and he said it wasn't biblical. He said it was Adventist, and he said he only disfellowships if you're basically a disruption in the church. He says doing that, he says we disfellowship women for that. We might as well start disfellowshipping everyone for everything they do wrong.
And to the credit, I think the mindset on it has changed. We're talking about years ago. We're in our 30s and 40s now, so this was 20 years ago. So I think the stance on this has changed a lot. But we're basically talking about, this is messaging we received as teenagers, as young.
Well, we're most impressionable, right?
Yeah,
Maybe that's
exactly.
because y'all was just
And
more involved. I was going to church and going to Sabbath
No,
to
it's because
dinner.
you're a boy. They weren't
Oh,
saying telling y'all
Because
that.
if you got
yeah,
somebody pregnant, we
oh,
wouldn't know that. Your
Yeah.
belly doesn't
right.
start to get big. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Like we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, gender
Unless
is
you're
a big
honest and
deal.
forthcoming, we wouldn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the other thing that I think this is pointing out for me is that it's kind of arbitrary based on who your leader is. You know, it's not across the board.
Yeah.
Also, if we think about what it is to be Black, also, and to be ejected from your church or dispelled, I mean, we already go through that in society anyway.
Yeah.
And to
Right.
go through that in your faith community,
Yeah.
that is can
Like
be
double
devastating.
rejection. Yeah.
Yeah.
see, I'm in
Yeah.
Atlanta. There's so many Black Adventist churches here. You just go to another one while the heat dies down, and by the
I
time the
mean, you
next
can do
one
that
Right.
too.
comes
You
back,
can do that too, but your heart, like your heart and
Yeah, for
your
sure.
mind and
For sure.
I mean, you grew up with, if you grew up with these people, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That doesn't leave you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Not at all.
that's something what Keon said. 'Cause we just don't have that many choices either. You know, you're either going to this one or that one.
Or
You know?
Pee Wee Valley. Who's
here in
going?
Atlanta, that might have been one of the reasons I was church hopping. I didn't want them to know what I was doing
You
after
don't want to
Sabbath
catch
school.
your sit, huh? Is that what you're trying to say?
That might have been why. I was over at Maranatha this week, Weston next week,
Oh
Decatur
Lord,
this
God.
week.
don't name
Uh,
your places you've been hopping to.
Right, right.
they know.
Just need the edit.
Spanish this
The
week.
edit button is gonna be strong this week, Tim. The
Making me
edit.
I'm gonna come
Making me
out. I'm gonna
work
come out
harder.
and say, even though I joined late, we still been going for about an hour since I got here. Uh,
Yes.
You can't come late and demand we close early. You can't.
Yeah, I need my nachos.
I'm
just playing, I'm just
see.
playing.
That's the thing. I wasn't even doing that. I was
Mhm.
just make. I was just
He
going
was
to
making an
thank the.
observation.
I was
Brandon
going
had
to
no
thank
days
people
today.
before
Dang,
we
Brandon.
get before we finish. Can I thank them for being on?
Mm.
Go ahead
Can I
and
thank
thank
them
them,
too?
Brandon.
We
Thank
thanked them
them.
before you got here,
But
so you can
Yeah.
thank them
I said,
now.
can I thank them?
I said you can thank them now.
you're welcome. I was
Yeah.
going to say another thing about singleness that I don't think some people get is the pros and the cons. Like, yeah, there's a lot of times I wish I was involved with someone, especially like Valentine's Day is coming up. And I used to hate Valentine's Day. I've gotten to a point now I just ignore it. That's how I do. My Valentine's is my mom. So basically you get sad like when there's an event or something that everyone has someone to take. I'm a little different though. Maybe if I was more open to dating what I attract, I probably would have people to take to these things. Because I don't think in Atlanta that too many heterosexual Black men have issues with being single, because this is a single city. If y'all don't know, it is the best city for dating, one of the best cities to date in the United States, especially for Black singles, particularly Black male heterosexual singles. Not necessarily for women, because there's
I
so
was
much
gonna say, what about the women? Because the ratio is
Yeah.
off, I
Not
believe.
for marriage. He said for dating.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
okay.
dating.
Okay.
And marriage, you might as well hang that out. I think we're the
Exactly.
city people come to break up at, gay or straight. I've seen people move here and love, and then they see all their options and they break up. And you're like, wait a minute, what happened? You moved 400 miles together, you struggle and stuff like that. They're like, I've realized I can't stand him, I can't stand her. And then they out on the crowd just dating and just living up the ATL life. So, I mean, there's some benefits to being single, I'm trying to say, in Atlanta, especially as a single man. I get to come and go as I want. I don't have to negotiate what movie I'm going to see when the theater's open. I don't have to negotiate what we're going to eat tonight or anything like that. It's like, okay, I want steak.
You have
I don't have any
independence.
children. Huh?
You have more independence. You think?
Yeah, you have more independence, and that part is great. Even like if you decide to go out to a party, you don't have to wait for some. You don't be like your spouse is like, I'm tired, let's go. If you want to stay out all night, you can stay out all night. You can wake up at
That's a
Waffle
true
House.
story.
Yep.
John,
Yeah,
give me the look. I'm like, okay.
and
Evening's
and I'm
over.
not used to that. I think that's why one of my last relationships broke out, because we got in a fight over that. He wanted to leave, and I'm like, I'm not ready to leave, and we had a fight on Peachtree Street.
Oh Lord.
So, and I haven't been in a relationship since. So, and that was over what, 10, 15 years ago. But
Oh wow.
You
All
want to
right.
move to
Well,
gratitudes?
yes. Keon and Margaret, thank you all so much for coming on. We're gonna, like Brandon said, just talk one thing briefly about what we're thankful for, what we're grateful for. We always try to end on that note. Who would like to go first?
I am just really grateful for growth in all of the areas, spiritual, mental. There has been some physical growth, but that's not the growth that I want to discuss today. As I look at Brandon and realize that I really need to call him. Anyway, but I am very grateful for growth. That's what I'm thankful for.
Kiana, what did you say? I'm sorry. I was gonna let the guest go first.
Oh, go.
Kiana, what would you briefly say about things you're grateful for? Thing that you're grateful for.
Thing, I don't know if it's cliche or shallow, but I'm thankful for basically still being financially stable at this time. I wish I had more money, but who doesn't? A billionaire wishes he had another billion. But I'm basically grateful for that during this time period. People have been struggling. My job did furlough me like 1 day a week, but with my other streams of income, including a roommate, it didn't really change my lifestyle per se. My lifestyle might have even got better because I had more free time, more downtime, and more money in my pocket because I wasn't spending it driving 25 miles one way each day, which is very bad on gas. So I'm thankful for the downtime. I'm not grateful for the people that have lost their life as the payment for that. But I'm grateful for the time to basically be at my house, basically enjoy the fruits of my labor, have time to basically recollect and just not be on the go all the time. So that's the most thing I'm grateful for right now.
I'm grateful for the conversation tonight. Just because I think we oftentimes we get to kind of play it safe in our discussions. Simone is always asking for the spicy.
We got it tonight.
We got the spicy.
We got it.
But I'm also glad that people can see from two different viewpoints, and really look at two people who I think are just normal, everyday folks, and their perception of what it means to be single and how they're living their single life. And I just hope that the discussion tonight was helpful to somebody else, especially the part where we talked about church messaging, because I think that was a really powerful part of our discussion tonight.
I think I sound grateful that we have people who are willing to come on and talk to us about these things because they don't know where the conversation is going to go. They're taking their time and their resources, time is money. And just taking time to talk with us. I just appreciate that we really haven't had trouble getting people to come on.
Come on, Brandon, what you got?
So you were doing that thought. Okay. So, as I was driving today, I was very thankful that I am driving a car that runs.
Yes.
And really, that may seem like a small thing, but I drive old vehicles because I am allergic to car payments right now. And I'm trying to hold out as long as I can. So both myself and my wife's vehicle they're both 15 years old, and they both crank up, and we're both able to go where we need to go. They haven't broke down on us. But I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed to have good transportation, man. I'm very blessed to have good transportation.
All right. So with that said, I think it's time for us to get up out of here. We won't give y'all no All-American recap this week. I'm gonna just tell you the teenagers are wilding. We'll talk about it next week. But till we come back to each other, make sure you all stay safe in these corona times. Please wash your hands. Be mindful of who you're letting in your bubble.
Stay safe.
Yeah, stay
mask
safe.
up.
Wear your mask. Even if you have your vaccine, you still have to social distance and wear your mask.
Yes, please. Please. And as always, it's still justice for Breonna Taylor. We're still out here hoping for that. Impeach Daniel Cameron. I want to add that to the situation. Please.
Get him out of here.
Yeah. Bye, Danny.
Yep. But until next time, y'all. We remain yours.
We remain yours.